want to spark change like that. You're right. Yeah.
What have you seen in terms of like for young people though? So for you, you've come over to the UK and you studied here. You've been here for a while, and you've seen things like grind culture. You've seen things like trying to make money fairly quickly and just like building, and not really having much sort of consideration for your own health, both physical and mental. And so I guess like for you as an observer, what have you seen to be the most like the biggest challenge for young people?
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a very, wow, you got some good questions, bro. I can say, just going back to that same point of finding our own domain, I feel like the main issue is that people have not found their domain.
What does that mean though? Like for you, like the domain, like what does that mean?
Yeah, like being situated within ourselves, being happy and content with who you are as an individual, you know, and owning and appreciating yourself in that being, you know, like your Sina.
Yeah.
Sina's come from wherever he's come from, and he's comfortable in his skin as being Sina, you know. He doesn't need all these external things to make him a comfortable person. But Sina within himself and in his values, he's happy, he's comfortable.
Yeah.
And then now he can go and start making a step towards transforming somebody else's life or sharing wisdom or, you know, opening other people's eyes. So that's sitting within ourselves and being content with ourselves, comfortable in our skin, you know, appreciating ourselves for who we are, even with our so-called downfalls or, you know, our negativities, but just being happy being ourselves.
So that's would you say that's like a foundational layer in order to like, before you make any sort of impact in other people's lives and in the world of business or whatever?
Yes, I feel, and it's something that's very much popularly ignored. Like people just don't factor in, are you happy within yourself? That kind of a question.
What's the sort of like negative side effects of like ignoring that? Because it's like, it's very easy to just, it is very easy to ignore it.
Right, exactly.
There's no day-to-day sort of impact of it in terms of like, because you can make impact fairly quickly, right? Yeah. But working on yourself takes a while, and like finding your identity and being comfortable in your skin, that takes a long time.
Yeah. But I mean, the whole point where we do all these things where we want to make an impact is because it makes us happy. So we're trying to be happy, ultimately. That's like the umbrella, or the universal principle is that everyone is doing these things because they feel like it will make them happy.
Yeah.
But if you're not happy or comfortable within yourself, then how sure are you that the things that you're doing are going to get you to that happiness if you're already not satisfied within yourself or comfortable or having an understanding of what happiness means for you? You know, so we ignore it, but everything always boils down to that. It boils down to us wanting to be happy and us wanting to revel in love, you know, and obviously, we can probably break that down a little bit more, is that everything we're doing is because we want love and we want to be able to give love in how we understand it and receive love in a similar way. And that we understand is what's going to make us happy. And so if you're trying to chase all these things thinking that it's going to make a proper impact and make you happy, then you should have an awareness of what being happy is for you within yourself first.
But how do you find that?
That's it. I love it. So yeah, the teaching suggests that that's sitting in your domain. The first way to be able to do that is meditation. Getting to sit and becoming aware of who you are internally. Then what happens is, as you take that time to pause within yourself, you start to have an understanding of yourself from an objective perspective. In that, okay, so this is Sina. Sina has these good qualities. Sina has these not so good qualities. These are his strengths. These are his weaknesses. And this is the goal that he wants to achieve in his life. And this is how realistic it is. All these things start to come up within the surface. Is he happy in his job? Is he happy in his relationship? Is the things that he's doing currently driving him towards the purpose that he has assumed for himself? What is that purpose? All these questions start to spring up when you are sitting within your domain. And the best way to do that is through meditation. So I always advocate that number one is that you meditate. You need that time to yourself. Your mind is always all over the place like a monkey, chop, 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 nonstop. So if you can block that for a minute and just be, you know, it can make all these things a little bit more clearer and easier for us to understand.
But people are afraid of those questions that they internalize, because like I've seen it so, even with myself, it's like as soon as you start getting things of like in the back of your head, does doing a podcast make me happy? It's like, oh, where's my phone? Like, where's the TV remote? Like,
Right.
you try to bring in distractions in order to just not think about them, because they're very deep questions that,
Right.
I don't know, they're uncomfortable in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like that you use that word uncomfortable, because the natural state of the world at the moment is that when something's uncomfortable, we don't talk about it. We hide it or we mask it.
Even with conversations internally with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I was getting to that. For example, we all know that we're going to die.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you're born, you've got one direct ticket to death. It's automatic. But then you bring up the conversation of death with people, anxiety. No one's gonna, everyone's scared. They're like, no, we'd rather not talk about it. It seems like it's something bad. But just because something is uncomfortable to speak about or something's uncomfortable to address doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. Us getting to a stage where we address ourselves and start to ask these deeper questions and really address them and focus on them is a good thing, and I think more of us need to be advocating for this, because we're getting many people becoming successful. Many of them are becoming millionaires, but we're not seeing all these people becoming happy. And so whatever is their driving factor to getting to happiness isn't giving them happiness. So surely there's something we can rework there, isn't it? Yeah.
That's honestly one of my biggest fears, is like, for me personally, and I think a lot of people listening as well, it's the same sort of thing where they work. I know how hard a lot of people, listening work, including myself, it's a lot of long hours, and you don't know whether it will lead to anything good. You don't know whether, it's a lot of experiments, a lot of risk. And you also have to, you kind of walk the line of your friends having very comfortable sort of 9-to-5 jobs, and
right.
they're kind of growing their wealth, at a pace. Whereas for you, it's like, you don't know whether
nothing's
this will
guaranteed.
Lead
you don't know what's going to happen
because it's risky. And so the added risk to that is like, okay, I'm working really hard now, but I'm delaying gratification, which is what everyone says, like delaying gratification, because in the long term, this will make me a lot more happier than if I was to go to a restaurant now, like to a bar now, or see friends now. Like, this is in my mind, or many people's minds, like short-term happiness. But then if I work now, I'll be very, very satisfied in the future. But what I'm terrified of is like, that long-term comes, I've made all the sacrifices, but that happiness isn't there.
Isn't there, right? You've made all the millions,
Yeah.
you made everything that you had hoped for, but you're still not getting that happiness. And so then as you're going through that journey, still having your goals, because it doesn't mean then we abandon our goals. People always get this misconception that if you're trying to focus on your internal journey, it means abandoning any other external commitments or goals you've made. No. But it's just that as you're working yourself towards those goals, you're also simultaneously working on your values and working on yourself as a being and working on your own internal journey. So it's something that you can do simultaneously. They're not mutually exclusive. That what am I working towards? Where's my happiness lie? And maybe, in the beginning, it's okay, my happiness lies in me inspiring others to make a change in their life that's positive. How am I able to make that change myself? And what am I doing? Am I being real? Because one of the things that we're also seeing at the moment that's creeping up is that we're having so many people preaching the right things, but not living by what they preach.
Yeah.
And so they're not really able to convince you. Because when you meet someone who's living by what they're preaching, it's just more convincing, right? Because they're living it. They're living in that world. My mentor says he works with wisdom that breathes, because they're living it. So, you want to get to a stage where as you're trying to find out your purpose and you're trying to understand your values, then you can align your values to your purpose. You can start to marry the two. That, what makes me happy is when I do direct service to others. So I'm working on this business. Where in this business can I have that opportunity to have that direct service towards others? Then you can start to work it out and redefine it, and until you then reach that stage where you feel that the happiness that you get from either serving others, which is where I think we get our happiness mostly from, or in impacting others, is something that's satisfying you. And then you'll just carry on.
I'm going to ask two very big questions.